Today, I prepared some questions during the presentation, just spontaneously. So I'm just going to ask a few questions to audience and to our speakers today. And please feel free to join me if you have some additional questions to add. Please feel free. So I'm going to start with some questions with the IATA. Ms. Nuria, thanks for your presentation, and it was actually quite useful. You mentioned that the IATA vision is to provide secure, seamless, and efficient experience for the passengers. And we know that this is not possible if only one stakeholder is taking action. So we need a good collaboration with the airlines, with the airports, and with the other authorities to achieve a seamless experience for the passenger. Can you give us an example, if it exists with your current experience, what would be the best, actually, an example for this kind of innovation and the collaboration?
Okay, thank you very much for your question, because as I mentioned during my presentation, I mean, technology is there. It's not really the issue. The issue is that everybody shares the same goal and work together. Because, I mean, we don't fly in isolation. We fly into airports, and within that journey, there is also government-related processes. But ultimately, the passenger feels as a unique journey in which all of us collaborate. So, coming back to your question about how important and how crucial collaboration is toward having truly effective results, a good example to share with you, and it's not that far away, is the UK, and how the UK, and specifically, for example, at Heathrow, are working as a unique community. And when I say are working, is the airline, the airport authority, but also the UK government. So they have a mechanism by which any decision being made about how to improve the passenger journey is being made in close collaboration. And from day one, the government and the authorities have been engaged into this process because, and I think she mentioned during their presentation, the authorities' engagement is probably one of the much more crucial, because some of the processes we are dealing with are regulated or are directly government-related processes, the border control process, for example. So without their engagement from day one, it will be pretty much difficult. In the case of Heathrow, the specific project in which all of them are working together is pretty similar to the IATA One Identity project, by which using the biometric, the single token of a passenger, being that token a conjunction of the passenger identity, the passport information, the biographics of the person, in this case the face, plus the boarding pass information, all that information is being put together after the passenger enrolls for the first time. And then, after the time the passenger has already enrolled and delivered all that information, all the stakeholders, airline, airport, and authority, will use the face of the passenger as a token, which contains the rest, all the information that is needed. And then each of the stakeholders, airport, airline, or authority, do access to that information to the level they need and for the purpose they need, because of course data privacy is pretty much important. So, and then furthermore, and this is another process in which the UK government is pretty much involved, looking into how the government can use the information that the airlines are submitting, the API and PNR information that the airlines are submitting to the authorities, in order to ensure that the security process is being run smoothly. So when they need to raise the bar about the security screening process, they will raise the bar only for those passengers that they have previously assessed that they are really representing a risk. So this is a very good example in which a single process, which is the journey of the passenger, is being coordinated and is being designed by all the stakeholders, and airlines, airports, and authorities. And also how this goes hand by hand with the upcoming regulations that will be in the UK. So again, a very good example to follow.
Thank you for the explanation and example, because when we discuss, actually, we find out that actually, for example, Pegasus Airlines is investing in technology a lot. On the other side, one of the biggest stakeholders, which is Sabiha Gokcen, is also investing a lot in the technology. But in one step, which is another stakeholder, which is not actually, I'm not going to say that they're not investing in technology, but probably they have some other barriers, but in this case is government. actually, because they cannot do that development which is required by the stakeholders, it's actually killing entire passenger experience. So thanks for the good example of Heathrow and the government of UK and the airline. That was really good example. Hopefully we'll take that also as a lesson for us and enhance the passenger experience with all stakeholders.
And I would just like to add that also it's pretty much important, that collaboration, the constant communication and consultation with the airlines to ensure that whatever is being driven is also driven at the right cost. This is a pretty much important factor, at least from the airline's perspective, and I would say for the rest of the stakeholders involved.
Correct. Thank you. My second question will be to Sabiha Gokcen, Mr. Dato. So we know that now the third airport is going to be open on end of October. And do you think the location of the third airport will have a positive or negative impact on the traffic of Sabiha Gokcen Airport?
Oh, thank you for that brilliant question. As an airport operator, I would say an airport is always a catalyst for any city to develop. And you will soon see development. Today, we will say that the Iga airport is quite far from the city. It's pretty far from Taksim. It's going to be much further from Taksim at the new site. But definitely, given time, development will follow to the airport. There will be development, certainly. So soon, I think, given time, the Iga airport will be part of Istanbul city. To your question of what is the position of Sabiha Gokcen with the opening of Iga, we are quite confident that we are able to attract more passengers to our site. Even those passengers on the European side of Istanbul, up to about Beşiktaş area and all the rest, it will be more closer to go to Sabiha than to reach the new airport. Therefore, the catchment area, beside all those on the Anatolian side, will be within the reach of Sabiha Gokcen. Even on the European side of Istanbul, partly will also be part of preferred passengers will go to Sabiha Gokcen. And then added to that, with all the linkage between European to the Anatolian side, also will provide the additional advantage to our airport. Therefore, I am confident that Sabiha Gokcen will be in a better position, even with the new airport operational by October.
Okay. So I think what I'm going to summarize actually what I get from your presentation and the current situation of the IGA. In a short while, I think as Sabiha Gokcen Airport, in a short-term period, you are expecting more passengers shifting from the European side to Sabiha Gokcen, but in the long term, IGA will be part of the Istanbul city, because the development will be extending from the center to more abroad than the center. So it will take a bit time to develop the infrastructure also, and city itself going to be part of the IGA. So then in a short while, you are expecting a demand shift to Sabiha, but long term, IGA will recover as far as I get from your feedback.
Certainly, you see, it depends on you look at Turkish Airlines today, it's very aggressive. Airports will depend very strongly on the home-based airlines. So Turkish Airlines is very aggressive, will be based at Iga. They will have to fill up all their planes, and all the planes will have to be flying. And therefore, they will provide the passenger numbers to Iga. But on the other side, the growth in Istanbul is more on the Anatolian side now. So therefore, equally, Sabiha Gokcen will continue to grow. And I would say that our target of 65 million could be achieved much earlier, before 2030. The growth on the Anatolian side is going to be equally aggressive, and the catchment area has grown. As I showed in my presentation, the slides, the bridge that link to Bursa today have brought the land travel from Bursa to Sabiha in less than 2 hours, So you find that passengers are today arriving at Sabiha, going to Bursa and all that, and from Bursa departing from Sabiha. And added to that is that airlines from Atatürk today are approaching us at Sabiha to operate in Sabiha, from Sabiha, when IGA is operational. So the confidence is enhanced on our part.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. On the other side, Pegasus, I'm going to ask a question about, do you expect an increase in demand because of the location of new airports?
Yes, we do, but the issue is this. The catchment area of Sabiha Gokcen is widening now to the European side. So that's why we're expecting some more demands. Atatürk Airport was much more closer to the city for the European side. But still, we see that we can capture traffic from European side with our product, with our pricing, so people can look for it, and if they see a much more affordable fare, then, and if it is a long journey, let's say, then they can go for it. But once it's like 60 kilometers from Taksim to there, and if there is no local transportation, but it's only for the starting period, I have to say, because there will be high-speed trains, metro, and everything. I think third airport is a huge investment, so it should be very fastly, very quickly, should be integrated into the city, and the plans are ready, and they will do it. But for the first run, maybe for the first start, yes, maybe also in the coming days when it's integrated into the city, still Sabiha Gokcen's catchment area will be widened. But besides all this, air traffic is growing for Turkey. Turkey will be attracting more business people, more tourists. We are confident as long as we keep the country and the neighborhood much more calmer. So Istanbul is a big city. We believe that these two airports are like two airports of two cities. It's not like one city, actually. The catchment areas are different. It will serve to the market, to the cities, and it both will grow. The issue is the infrastructure, and the plans should be timely into the market. Yes. Because sometimes time to market is much more critical than to have a, let's say, brand new, very super terminal. So that growth should not be missed. Yes. Right now, for example, Atatürk is slot congested, no growth. Sabiha Gokcen, yes, Sabiha Gokcen is trying to get more foreign traffic, but there is no slot available. Only 2-3 hours. Only foreigners can fly. We cannot, not anymore. And it's also filled, and we don't know what will happen for next year because there's still one runway. Yes. Third airport will be open, but it will be open by 2 runways, not the third one. So Turkish Airlines, as you have said correctly, they are going there with around 400 aircraft. So we should be ready to serve the growth, actually.
So I think this is important. Probably you are seeing also in your classes that aviation sector is growing quite fast. Traffic numbers are increasing, but one of the biggest challenge is infrastructure. And I think this is one of the good examples that at the moment Turkey is experiencing, that our infrastructure is not growing fast enough to fulfill the demand that we are having at the moment. So the second question that I'm going to ask is about the passenger experience. Thanks for the nice presentation. So we already spoke about the technology. Yeah, we know technology is the future right now, and everyone is investing in the technology. But on the other side, because we know that right now there is mobile applications, there is a back drop-off, then there will be your boarding cards on your phone. So basically, you are not touching any of your customers sometimes. So it is, and in your presentation, you mentioned that it is so difficult now to touch the customer during their customer journey. Because since from the beginning, they book their ticket from online, like mobile application on our websites, and then they get their boarding card, they do their online check-in, they get their boarding card online on their mobile application, and then they come to the airport, directly go to the passport control, then to the boarding. Even now, some boarding, you don't have a boarding process. I think, if I read it correctly, in Chicago right now, it's self-boarding. So the cameras, they recognize your face, they do the self-boarding for you, and then you directly enter the plane. So basically, airlines, us, we don't have any touch point to the customers physically. It's all by technology. Do you think this is a challenge for an airline, or actually this is an advantage?
No, this is not a challenge. This is what customer is asking for, actually. Yes. As a customer, they don't want to see anyone. I don't want to see anyone. I want an effortless, a frictionless service, like I do buy it from the mobile. If I can self-bag drop, self-boarding, and then on the plane, if it is on time, takes me to the other destination, that's okay. But still, the touch point is where, if everything goes right, this is the process. But in the aviation, it can go wrong very easily, because there are too many parameters in it, as I said. So the customer is looking for a human touch or a support, mainly during those problematic times. So we should be smart enough handling those situations, either digitally or through human interaction. Okay. So it will never be lost. Plus in the cabin there is a human interaction, because the cabin staff, that journey is a closed, you are somewhere close there.
I think that's one of the rare points that we have now. Thank God,
a lot,
we have a cabin crew that it's touched the passengers. Yes. Yeah. Okay, so basically, in your opinion, the technology actually during that booking cycle and the journey cycle is actually an advantage for an airline at the moment.
And for the customers.
Yeah, for the customers also, because it's hassle-free.
Yeah.
And if there is any disruption, then human touch might be necessary if digitalization is not supporting that.
Yes, and digitalization will of course support it to an extent. I mean, we can also insert empathy into the digitalization. I mean, if it knows that, for example, my flight is late and sends me a message saying that do not do it right now, but there will be let's say, a delay on your flight, that's an empathy actually. But still, we need a human touch and a service when we have to handle such disrupted situations.
Yes.
If I may add into that, I think that the focus, and correct me if I'm wrong, is not that much about removing any human interaction, but just allocate that human interaction when it's really needed, and for those that really need it. Which can be regular operations, or at the same time, those travelers that maybe travel once a year, they are not used to technology, my parents, so then airlines can really focus on those passengers that are really needing, and not that much on those that are really go on their
No,
own.
exactly, because
So,
experience is not something like you have to interact with the customer
That's
frequently.
correct.
No, this is we have to be, we have to understand what they're asking for, what the
That's
customers are asking for.
That's
exactly. Yes, I
That's why
totally agree.
actually we do the voice of customer, all the surveys and everything, and then we can find out that what is actually customers looking for.
Yes.
Thanks for the answer. And I believe sometimes in our region that we are operating, Turkey and Middle East, what happening is sometimes we are having a, let's say, a delay. We're sending an SMS, an email saying that you are going to have a delay on your flight tomorrow morning. But because of the culture that you mentioned today, for example, still passengers call our call center and ask, am I going to have a delay tomorrow? Yes, that's why we need the human touch in our region sometimes to handle that kind of requests. So my other question will be about bit of educational side and the university side, a bit of more to you, Konstantinos, because we are actually mentioned in the beginning that we need a qualified, educated people in aviation. Today, actually it was tomorrow, when I read on the news that Emirates has grounded 18% of their total capacity for summer 18 because of the shortage of cockpit crew. We are speaking about always, the ground operation, commercial side, operational side, but as you know that we have a flight operations and we have a crew, cockpit and cabin, and this is also a big challenge for the airlines because, as I said, the airline industry is growing so fast, and now even the biggest airlines at the moment, and Emirates is one of the most popular, well-paid airline to their cabin crew. They having a big shortage in cockpit, and they grounded 18% of their capacity yesterday for the summer. I don't want to forecast the lost for them. Probably, I don't want to hear about it. Probably this is our total revenue for 2017. But imagine that. So this is the biggest challenge. I'm just giving an example of the cockpit. But again, for the ground operations, again for our commercial operations. So what we see that right now, that's why we are here today. Education is really important for aviation, and we need a full support from the universities for that. So what do you think, how that universities can play, because I think they can play a key role in the aviation industry, but how the university can influence the future of aviation?
Thank you, it's an excellent question. As you know, as we have discussed, aviation has been constantly growing. Actually, it's doubling as a rule of thumb every 15 years. What happens? The need for today's employees for airports and airlines are very different than they used to be 40 years ago. 40 years ago, most of the airline and airport employees didn't study aviation. They were going there and they were trained. Now, it's much more complex. You have increase in the passenger quality of service, new legislation, new security, new technology. So the number of employment opportunities in the aviation industry will continue to grow. They will not double as air traffic is doing, because what happens, for example, in the early 2000, for every 1 million annual passenger at any airport, you had 1,000 direct and indirect jobs. Nowadays, it's around 850. That's because of new technology.
Correct.
And also better qualified and more productive employees. So that's why universities have a crucial role in order to provide industry-applied education. So actually, you want the young graduates, when they graduate, to be able and be very efficient and very productive. Sorry. Do I need to repeat it all?
I think you are like me. We are noisy enough.
Yes.
I think everyone heard. Did you catch it? Everyone has catch that? Yeah? Okay, brilliant. But with microphone, you can continue.
Thanks. Actually, I think, and I say that actually it's a great opportunity of all students here because you have a great team of professors. It's a dream team. I have heard about them, and so I'm very happy that I've met them. You have a great infrastructure, all the facilities. I have discussed with a lot of you, and I've seen that you are all very bright and very committed. So you have only one task to do: work hard. Work hard, and success is guaranteed. And I'm sure that Ozyegin, as a brand, as a reputation, will continue to grow, not just in Turkey, but also internationally.
Thank you. I believe, because we spoke about the figures about the traffics, in 2017, Turkey handled 200 million passengers. And the growth, if I remember correctly, it was a report that I read from IATA. By 2035, Turkey will have seventh biggest domestic passenger numbers, if I'm correct. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But so that is actually we're having a huge opportunity because we are living, studying, and working in one of the highest growing aviation sector in the world, which is Turkey. So you are very lucky that you are at this age and studying aviation right now because the future is quite bright. And hopefully, as you said, like universities like Ozyegin is supporting this growth with qualified and educated people. According to your last sentence, I want to ask a question to Celebi because you said in 2000 for the 1 million basically passengers, you're having 1,000 staff. Right now, it's gone down to 800,000.
850.
850. Yeah. So do you think as a ground handling operator, this technology will be an advantage for you because you will actually using this technology which will reduce your cost? All airlines will take advantage of this technology and will not need a check-in desk and a boarding process because they will use kiosk and the other technologies. So I believe, of course, you have an advantages and disadvantages, but do you think that will be a challenge for you?
I think it's both a challenge and a chance at the same time, an opportunity. And when we select our regions where to grow, actually, we were very careful on those parts as well, where we are concentrating actually. We are very strong in terms of employee management and resource planning part. And the markets we are trying to penetrate, that's why we are so successful, for example, in India actually, because we are quite efficient when you compare with the other handlers who are there currently. Although the competitors are determining in a way the price, still you are making a good margin and you are able to provide a good service. But technology brings a challenge at the same time because you need to invest to it. And if you don't invest at the right time, it can be too late. Correct. So that's the difficult part to decide. Actually, we, as I already mentioned, we made this year a 7-digit in dollars actually, an IT investment as a software for just a software. So for a ground handling company to give such a decision, because for the airlines maybe it's much easier because airlines are like banks actually. Without the good infrastructure on IT, you can't run an airline business. But in the ground handling, it's not directly related to the IT part that much. But for a ground handling company, it's a big investment actually to make a 7-digit in dollars figure investment actually. But if you don't do, you can't grow, you can't be successful. And it's a challenge from that perspective. And for a service company, those are big figures when you think.
I'm going to refer to one of the students asked question about that electronic baggage tax that will have a cost. Everything has a cost. And then here, what we need to think, because before it was about mobile application, for example, for the airlines. 5 years ago, that was a cost for the airlines to actually implement that, develop that mobile application. Lots of airlines put millions and billions to actually have a great website and mobile application. But end of the day, that return of investment, actually, this is what we call it, return of investment will be much higher than what you're actually spending. So thank you for that. Last question is about me. Is anyone has a question for me? It's so good to ask questions and, okay, no. All right, two. I was going to say that no one. That's going to be a tough one, I believe.
No, it's not that tough question. Maybe I am asking all of you. You are training the staff. You are training, investing for infrastructure, better service to the passenger. But what are you doing for the passenger to train them? Because none of the passenger knows their rights and obligations when they are flying. When they step into the airport, it starts the journey. From my perspective as a legal person, if they know their rights and obligations, passenger experience will be better. When you have a problem, as Ms. Güliz mentioned, they are looking for someone to give correct answer. If there is a delay, you are sending a message, SMS message, but even in that circumstances, you said that they are calling you back to check once again why you are delaying my aircraft. And when delay occurs in the aircraft, they are coming to the airport staff and asking, who is going to take care of me? They are running to the ground service operators. What is my right? They are running to the airport staff of airline asking what is their right. So what are you doing for the passenger? This is my question.
Okay.
I cannot give an answer.
Okay.
There's a huge icon like this one, this big,
On
the
our
website, on all our websites, and because it's obligatory by the CAA, and in it, all the items are written. This is what we have to do. But to learn something, you should read it. And if you don't read it, you cannot learn it. But the icon is there, really. And also on the check-in counters, we have to present their rights, customer rights, our rights, customer rights, so they can take that, let's say, brochure or that publication, they can read it. There are some much more complicated issues when they face, let's say, with the airline or with the airport. Then they have to get some support, and they do it because, or they ask to the airline, but sometimes they don't trust.
Can you ask people who are sitting here? Who read it?
Yes, but what I'm trying to say, we have to present that, and then we put the brochures, but it's not a one-to-one marketing issue. If you are a store, let's say, having 100 or 200 people coming inside, and you have the people, you can tell them. But it's like, for us, 30 million. For the other one, 100 million. So it's, you should be presenting very openly there. But for example, in addition to this, we changed the check-in times and boarding closure times as of 1st of March. And we prepared how-to videos, for example, because Turkish people or the youngsters globally do not read, but they do want to see it. They watch. So we prepared videos to explain. They should be there at that time, otherwise they will lose their rights or what they can experience also. So maybe we will just go through the social media to tell what their rights are, like the baggage, check-in times, boarding times. We have used this for the last two regulation we have changed.
I believe.
Allow me to chip in to Madam Lale question, which I notice here in educating the passengers. I notice in Turkey, the moment aircraft lands on the runway, all passengers start standing up to pick up their bags. No cabin crew take any action. That I put an email, a complaint, lodge a complaint to the authority on this subject, because it is very, very serious. It involves safety issue. And almost all on the economy class start standing up to pick up the bags while the aircraft is still taxiing. It is very serious. But when I ask the cabin crew says we can't do anything.
But they make announcements. They have to make some announcements.
I know, but therefore I would urge airlines
you're right.
to really educate the passengers and appeal to the authority, humbly appeal to the authorities to take action on this category of passengers. I mean, they don't even look at signages, what more to use the self-check-in kiosks. So education, I believe, needs to be in place, and the initiative by Ozyegin University is something that I think more countries need to have these kind of universities to meet the demand of the aviation industries worldwide, suppose.
Correct.
I mean, that's quite alarming, as you mentioned, of the action taken by Emirates of 18%. That's quite alarming. Demand is growing, will keep growing. You know, so I think more Ozyegin universities should be in the world.
One more thing I will add to your question. We will trying to, as Atlas Global, for example, I can give an example. We are trying to be very transparent to our passenger. As Ms. Güliz said, basically, we have this bit of icon on our website, which is forced by CAA. And also on all our announcements, we're trying to give the transparency. And also we started to actually educate internally. Because if you ask a staff in Atlas Global, for example, a couple of years ago, do you know what will be if we have a denied boarding? What is the passenger rights? Nobody knows. Yeah. So we start to educate our staff. Yes. You know, first of all, you need to know we can have a denied boarding, some reasons, overbooking or some operational reasons, and you will have a denied boarding and you will give compensation to the passengers. And last week when I was flying to London, our flight was overbooked by 14 passengers. Everyone knows that all airlines actually do overbookings. Yeah. Yes. This is a good revenue opportunity for airline, as a good opportunity for customers to fly. Because some flights you are giving up to 20-25% of no-show. Yeah. You know, so 14 passengers, 13 of them they didn't appear, they didn't come, and one of them it's appeared. So he's gonna have a denied boarding, and he started to shout at the check-in and Atatürk Airport, "You cannot do, what is that? What kind of airline are you?" He was screaming, "I'm going to right now the Civil Aviation Authority complain about you." And that time, our airport duty manager, she said, "Look, this is a practice that all airlines do, and some airlines are earning more than 5% revenue of that, and giving passengers more opportunities to fly. I get you on this flight, actually I shouldn't get you on this flight, but you had an opportunity to come here because probably you are going to fly. But otherwise, I was going to close the flight for sale, and you will not even get this ticket to come here. So I'm giving you that opportunity to come here to try to fly." And she was showing on some IATA overbooking procedure over the phone to the passengers. So we are at that stage right now, actually. We are educating our staff first and trying to educate our passengers, because unfortunately we are operating in a region that our passengers are not educated. Because, you know, when we check the results for a couple of years ago, how many passengers were flying, and now most of the passengers, they're new passengers, they're new to this business.
Yes.
And as soon as plane touched down, everyone is standing up, as you said, and we are also really pushing our cabin crew and trying to educate them. Safety is first. You have to announce, even 100 times, you have to announce it. And then complain about those passengers, because passengers always complain about us, but we need to also complain about them. Because that's the way, actually, we can offer them a better way of flying.
Yes.
Another question. There was one question over there, and we are going to finish because I'm receiving time is up. Any other questions? Yes, please.
I think it's a very good place to bring into discussion for the passengers who are moving from Ercan to European Union countries via Istanbul airports.
Okay.
They are suffering a lot. They are being checked for twice, as you know. And I don't think it's about the politics only, but it is about the regulations which we are applying to IATA, which has 8 members from Turkish operators, and as far as I know, at least 3 of them are having.
Can I stop you for something, because so everyone can clearly understand the question that you are asking? Question about the flights from Northern Cyprus via Istanbul to European countries.
Exactly.
That passengers suffers a lot.
Yes.
Because of the...
Because since they go towards the migrations for twice, and they have to change the aircraft as well.
Everybody's changing the aircraft.
That's a regulation.
If a passenger from Antalya, for example, is flying to London, they are changing aircraft at Istanbul. Or if a passenger flies from Tel Aviv to Paris, they change the aircraft at Istanbul. So up until this regulation has changed by UK, this regulation has changed by UK, unfortunately. It was for us, for example. You also fly to London.
Correct.
Turkish Airlines doesn't do it. We were doing it.
Correct.
I don't. Maybe you also stopped before us. Only Cyprus passengers, Northern Cyprus passengers, were staying at the aircraft. That was the 108 destinations. The only flight which is flying from Cyprus to London via Istanbul, and the passengers were staying in it.
And the only reason was because there was too much transit passenger on board.
Yes. So, yes, that is a burden right now, because up until now, we are flying to London since 10 years. This was a comfort. I accept that. But it's not a burden right now, because everybody is facing the same thing. Ankara, Istanbul, London, they are changing the aircraft. Nobody can stay at the aircraft, because the aircraft is changing at Istanbul.
Aircraft is changing, but they take the baggages back and then they recheck in again, something like that.
No. I am a Cypriot, by the way. I can tell you this in details. As a Cypriot,
otherwise we cannot. Everybody will miss the flight. The baggage
goes directly to the final destination.
Check. No. Through check.
It's a true check-in. Even we have interline partners that we are flying from Ercan, Istanbul, and Istanbul, Dubai with Emirates, and Dubai to Manila again with Emirates. We do an interline through check-in. So basically, we do the baggage check-in. We go from Ercan, and it goes with Istanbul, and Istanbul, Dubai, Manila, without any touch to passenger. It's a transit back. We apply this rule with airlines that we have an agreement. So passenger only actually changing. My granduncle visited me a couple of weeks ago, and he said to me, I'm going to continue to Cyprus, but do I need to change now an aircraft? It was not like that before, so why you are guys doing that? So he was complaining. But I told them also the same thing. All the passengers, all the transit passengers in the world, nearly, I'm actually excluding the technical stop and that kind of things. You are getting disembarked and you embarked again to the other plane and you continue. And actually it's an opportunity for the airports Because when an aircraft arriving from London, passengers get off, they disembark from the Atatürk airport, they have time to walk through the terminal to use facilities like bathroom, shopping, and then that kind of stuff. So they do their duty-free shopping and they continue to the next aircraft. And what we try to do, because there's a huge traffic between London and Northern Cyprus, we, as Atlas Global and Pegasus and Turkish Airlines, three of us, try to keep the connection time as a minimum connection time. So at the moment in Atatürk Airport, the minimum connection time from international to international is 60 minutes. And we are trying to keep that 60 minutes. So London arrives at 8, Istanbul Ercan is departing at night. So passenger can get on board, get offloaded, and then immediately walk towards, do small shopping, and get on board, and they continue. They don't touch the baggage. Baggage will end the final destination.
Okay, that was what I was complained, and if I will feed you back, if this your explanation does not match with what I was informed before.
Okay, that's a wrong information. I can 100% assure you.
Thank you very much for your care.
You're welcome. I think, and
Yes.
any question from you guys?
No, thank you.
No?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you.